Welcome to Live at Pat's Crib, a jam session featuring some of Virginia's finest jazz performers, available on demand on YouTube. Tonight, the house band consists of Bruce Middle on guitar, Ravi Palet on bass, Ben Peters on sax, Steve Rabson on keyboards, and yours truly, Pat Bergen, on drums and vocals. Our special guests are Mike Huffman on trumpet and Doug Gately on flute and alto. This month, we'll take you up to the Great White North once again for our Jazz Club of the Month. And so, without further ado, boy, we got a great show. We got a couple of the finest musicians in the Fredericksburg, all of Northern Virginia for that matter, in addition to our fantastic house band, which I'm going to introduce to you right now. On bass, our good friend Ravi Palet. That is the one and only Bruce Middle on guitar. Our old friend, we haven't seen him for a little while. He disappeared for a while, but we bailed him out, and he's back with us tonight. Steve Rabson on keyboards. I'm Pat Bergen. I am your host. I play these things, and I try to sing. That doesn't usually work out too well, but I'm going to do it again anyway. 2. Those fingers through my hair, that sly come hither stare, that strips my conscience bare, it's witchcraft. And there is no defense for it, the heat is too intense for it. What good would common sense for it do? 'Cause it's witchcraft. Wicked, wicked witchcraft. And although I know it's strictly taboo, when you arouse a need in me, my heart says yes indeed in me. Thank goodness for what you're leading me to. It's such an ancient pitch, and it's one I wouldn't switch, 'cause there's no nicer witch than you, Bruce. Steve Rabson, ladies and gentlemen. Fingers through my hair, that sly come hither stare that strips my conscience bare. It's witchcraft, and there is no defense for it. The heat is too intense for it. What good would common sense for it do? 'Cause it's witchcraft, wicked, wicked witchcraft. And although I know it's strictly taboo, when you arouse a need in me, my heart says yes indeed in me. Proceed with what you're leading me to. It's such an ancient pitch, it's one I wouldn't switch, 'cause there's no nicer witch than you. It's witchcraft, wicked witchcraft. It's witchcraft. Up we go to the great frozen north and another one of those great nightclubs up in Toronto, Ontario. It's next, and then we bring up our time for our Jazz Club of the Month here on Live at Pat's Crib, and we're going to take you back up to the great frozen north again for another Toronto jazz club. This would be the Colonial Tavern. We have one in Fredericksburg. This one was in Toronto. This was the oldest operating jazz club in Canada. I think they started out in the mid-1940s. I remember them as the go-to place if you wanted to see a performer or a group of international repute. Just some of the stars that performed there, and this is a tiny list. Miles Davis, Carmen McRae, Thelonious Monk, Art Blakey, Dave Brubeck, Duke Ellington, Ella Fitzgerald, Dizzy Gillespie, Benny Goodman performed there, as did Sarah Vaughan. It was just a fantastic place, but my particular memory of the Colonial was one night I went there to see Elvin Jones, greatest jazz drummer in some people's opinion in history. And it was interesting to me that after he finished his set, he just got down off the bandstand and stood by the back entrance of the bandstand. So I went up to him. You may recall, if you're old enough, back in the 1960s and early 1970s, Ginger Baker, the drummer for Cream, challenged Elvin Jones to a drum battle in England, and Elvin took him up on it. And I was curious what Elvin might have to say about this drum battle that he had done with Ginger Baker. And he smiled and he said to me, "You know, Ginger is a really great jazz player, but his records are terrible." I'll never forget that moment. It's one of my greatest memories of going to the Colonial Tavern in Toronto. It's no longer there. They tore it down like so many other things. It's now a bunch of condos. What a waste, right? All right, that's it for this month. Back to the music. Thanks for joining us here at Live at Pat's Crib. We have a couple of fantastic performers here. You've heard a couple of them already. And we're really proud to have Doug Gately. Sponsored by Yingling. That's right. It's sponsored by Yingling. Anyway, Doug Gately is with us. Doug is probably, well, he's definitely one of the greatest woodwind players in Northern Virginia, and spent, I guess you said 20 years with the Airmen of Note. Is that correct?
Technically, I only did 16 years with them.
Oh. There's one enlistment that you didn't make.
I did 20 years in the Air Force Band.
Wow, that's amazing. Now, for those of you who don't know, the premier service bands have the finest musicians in the world. And the Airmen of Note is probably the premier of the premier bands. We're going to start where I always start. It seems a little, kind of, I don't know, maybe a little weak, but I always ask everybody if they're local people or if they were born and raised someplace else. So.
Well, I was born near Buffalo, New York, western New York.
Wow.
A beautiful little town called Lockport, New York.
I know where it is. I'm lived in Toronto for years and years and years, so not too far from there. Well, what brings you to this area?
It's a good question. Well, after I got out of school, I played around for a while, and then I joined the Air Force Band, which was in D.C., permanent duty station, But first, I was at Langley Air Force Base.
Oh, okay. Tell me
Interesting little story about this. When I went and auditioned, old crusty sergeant says, well, kid, you sound pretty good. Where do you want to go? I says, any place warm. I'm from Buffalo. Anything in Florida? He says, well, let me call. And he calls Bands Branch, and they, hey, you got anything? No, it's full. Well, the kid wants something warm. Well, there's Langley in Hampton, and that's near Virginia Beach. And he said the word beach. I says, I'll take it.
Were you surprised when on your first winter here?
No, actually, well, no, it's pretty nice here. It's pretty calm here compared to Buffalo, man. I spent most of my childhood shoveling.
Yeah, I know it well. You get a snowstorm in Buffalo, you know you're in a snorestorm? We had that just now.
We would have snow and it would go all the way up to the traffic lights at times.
Yeah, I've seen it up there like that. Now, let me ask you a little bit about your background. First of all, just so that everybody watching is aware of the fact, you are head of the Jazz Studies Department at University of Mary Washington. Did I say that right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm also conductor of the concert band.
Yeah, I understood that as well. Whatever in the world got you started performing at this level? I mean, a lot of people will start performing and they may play professionally for a little while, who knows what, but very few people go through what you did. You were in one of the great premier service bands. You've done so many things, and how in the world did you come to do all of that?
Well, the key is I tell my students now, I says, you're in school, now's the time to practice and practice and practice. Get your chops together, because after you leave here, life's going to get in the way, and you will not have time to practice. So when I was fortunate, I went to the Berklee College of Music in Boston. I spent 6 to 7 hours a day practicing, because the guys in the practice rooms next to me just blew me away. They were so good, and I had a lot of catching up to do. So I just practiced.
I'll be darned. That's an amazing story right there. I don't know. First of all, I don't know of anybody that ever practiced 6 or 7 hours a day. Bruce did. Okay, Bruce says he did. Just because I don't really know myself, give me some idea of the kind of curriculum that you would put together, and how would you approach your students at Mary Wash?
Well, I teach a number of different classes. Most of my job, so to speak, description is doing what we call applied studies. In other words, performing groups and private lessons and so forth. I don't do all that many classroom lectures. I do history of jazz. I do a theory class. I do an arranging class periodically in different semesters. But most of the focus is on performing, playing. So I'm just trying to help them along on what to work on and try to expose them to different types of music.
I think, I'm not sure if this is correct or not, but I believe in this room, I think there's one of your students here. Is that right?
Yeah. Steve Rabson. Steve Rabson's right there.
No, Ben Peters is one of Doug's premier students right there. Ravi as well? I didn't know that. Well, Doug, it's been fantastic having you tonight. You played fabulous as always. We will be seeing you, I guess, at the jam session on Thursday, and you are heading this thing up this week.
Yeah, and I'm mainly playing horns. I'm not playing keyboards or anything.
Okay.
So it should be a fun gig.
For the benefit of those that would not know, Doug is also a fabulous keyboard player as well as a woodwinds player. Doug, thank you very much for being here tonight. We appreciate it. Doug Gately! drop by the Colonial Tavern in Fredericksburg for the monthly jam session sponsored in part by the Fredericksburg Jazz Collective. On the second Thursday of each month, the area's finest jazz musicians, professional and amateur alike, get together to crank out some seriously sweet jams from 7 to 9:30 p.m. See you there! Huffman is in the hot seat, ladies and gentlemen. Let's welcome to Live at Fats. Fats Crib. Yeah, Pat's Crib. Well, he's fat as well. Mike, boy, you played great tonight. I have to say, fantastic. And I understand you just finished your. Is it your PhD?
I'm working on my DMA. I just finished my first year of studies up at George Mason University. So, and 2 more to go, and I should have it in the bag.
Hot dang. What are you going to do with that, son?
Hopefully get a full-time teaching position. That's kind of the dream. So right now I teach adjunct at the University of Mary Washington with Doug. Yep. And I also, I'm a graduate assistant up at George Mason, so I teach a couple of classes up there as well. Teach world music, brass methods, some jazz stuff here and there, and, private lessons. So.
Yeah, well, I think we may have touched on this before, but here in little tiny Fredericksburg, Virginia, I think the population is 30,000, something like that. We have some of the finest jazz musicians anywhere in America, certainly on the East Coast. And I think Bruce Middle's probably top 5 guitar player on the East Coast, no question. What is amazing about it is not very many people realize the music department at Mary Wash is so good. I mean... It is.
Yeah. It's a very, very small school. And so a lot of the students are music minors as well, as Doug will tell you. And so a lot of people are double majoring in a bunch of different things. And so, but yeah, it's a pretty active program for being a small school.
Yeah. Just so you know, the inspiration for this show was one that a guy in Detroit did. He's the head of the Detroit Jazz Festival. His name's Chris Collins. And I saw that, and I thought, wow, I'd like to do something similar to that. Well, this one, I think, is better. I think our musicianship is better than some of those cats in Detroit. I swear, I am just flabbergasted whenever I have you guys in this room at the quality of music that we do. I did not ask you the primary question either before we started the interview. Are you from around this area, or are you from elsewhere?
I'm actually a Spotsylvania native. So I was from around the area, went to high school around here, and then I did my undergraduate at JMU, and then I went up to SUNY Purchase in New York to study with John Faddis for my master's, and then came back to Virginia for a little bit. So,
well, Mike, it's been a pleasure having you with us tonight. We really appreciate you coming by. You really added to the show. Normally, we don't have the guests in each other's segments, so tonight was really fantastic. We had this beautiful horn section in here, and it's going to be fantastic. Thanks for dropping by, ladies and gentlemen. Mike Huffman right there. Broadway, and that wraps it up for another episode of Live at Pat's Crib. You can't see me because Doug's standing right in the way of the... No, there's a camera. It can see me. Don't worry about it. Anyway, let me introduce these people once again. This has been a fantastic night. We've got two great guests, but let's introduce the house band first. On bass, Ravi Palet, right there. Our old friend Steve Rabson is back on keyboards. Our really old friend... really old friend Bruce Middle on guitar tonight. Our sax guy, he's with us every week. We love him. Ben Peters over here. Special guest. You see him sneaking off. No, you don't. He's off camera. That is Doug Gately. Come on up here, Doug, and take a bow. There he is. And let's get Michael up here. Mike, he got to get up in front of the camera so people can see him there. Okay, there is Mike Huffman on trumpet. That wraps it up. We'll see you next month. Well, that does it for another episode of Live at Pat's Crib. We're happy you were able to join us tonight, and we hope you'll join us again next month for two brand new guest artists. Now, if you are a musician, a jazz musician in particular, and you play an instrument or you sing, please drop by the Fredericksburg Jazz Collective monthly jam session at the Colonial Tavern on the second Thursday of every month. It's an open jam session, So come up and join us. In the meantime, we'll see you again next month for another episode of Live at Pat's Crib. Good night. The preceding show was taped before a live audience. At least they were when we started. No musicians were harmed in the making of this video, except for me when I slipped and fell into John. All musicians are presumed innocent unless proven guilty in a court of law, which they are. If I talk any faster, my teeth will fall out.